Everybody, and welcome back to Snapshot 82. I'm Brendan Patrick, joined always by Marvel Snap phenom Cam Best. Cam, you're weak in Marvel Snap, sir.
Well, I competed in Conquerors. I got a 6th out of 14 or 16. It was pretty cool. A lot of bots involved in that. I played a bunch of Cassandra Nova. And I'm really happy with her, and I'm really happy that she's a card that people are going to be able to acquire for free. And I'm really happy that basically everything. I'm happy with everything about Cassandra Nova, because we went from a 1-deck meta to at least a 3-deck meta now, and there's like some actual movement. So I'm very happy we get to see some actual movement from a metagame that was previously not moving in the slightest. That's something that makes me very happy.
Yep. Yeah, actually, Cam, I think I messed something up. I have to stop the pod. You're out of bubs.
Oh no! I'm out of bubs? What can I do to get more bubs?
Well, for the small price of your future child's tuition, I could give you, a quick refill.
We need to invent Bubty Coin.
Bubty Coin. Yeah, tell me about it. I don't know if I can afford it. Holy shit. Yeah, so, I mean, to be fair, I haven't spent any money with Deadpool's Diner.
Yeah, do you chat, I'm gonna read out the messages Brendan sent to me. Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Cam got some live, unfiltered reaction.
I got some reaction. Here's what I got. You ready? I keep queuing into people that insta-retreated Deadpool's Diner. Is there some sort of cheese strat where you lose streak and guarantee getting a bot or something? And then we talk about that for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then we talk about that and then go here's where we're really getting into it. Do you know if when you buy bubs, if it counts towards the reward track? I just refuse to spend money, but I would like to know. And then I respond, yeah. And then Brendan hits with, oh, that's fucking cringe. Money extractor disguised as a game. I swear. Anyway, that's the live Brendan APG reaction to realizing that information. See, it's so weird because it's like, this is exactly what people like you have been asking for this whole time. A free-to-play way to acquire cards. But then you engage with the mode and you're like, you know what? I don't actually want a free-to-play way to acquire cards. I don't want a free-to-play way to acquire cards that makes me actually play. I just want the card for free. And I think people should be honest about that in the future.
So I can explain my grievances. My grievances are that the mode is... Well, fundamentally, it's kind of developed by idiots because you can cheat, and that sucks. Cheating sucks. You can cheese it, you can cheat, and that's not fun. They also
that is everyone's favorite thing about the mode. Actually,
yeah. Well, I know that's because that's where they're at right now because the mode is frustrating. Also, the card is. You have to play the game mode. You have to be relatively successful in the game mode to acquire the card. And, you'll sort of inevitably get it as long as you're not ass. My issue with that is like with buying bubs and contributing is that Second Dinner actually doesn't give a fuck about this being challenging, rewarding, or you actually playing the game. All they care about is you fucking spending money, and that's annoying. Like that, it's just so at some level, it's just so disingenuous and disrespectful that I'm just like, yeah, because it's cringe, bro. Like first of all, you can cheat. First of all, you can cheat and you can cheese the mode. That's not cool.
Sure, yeah.
And then it's like, hey, don't play it feels like, so that not only are you getting pop-ups every single fucking time you lose, every single time. Hey, you want to buy this? By the way, we're not going to be super upfront with, the rates changing as you level up your pub mart. You need to use third-party resources to understand that. Bad. But it's like, give me as much fucking money as possible. And it just sucks. Like, why? Like, I don't know. It's not that I don't think it's an inherently bad game mode. Every time they do this, I'm just like, why? It just feels so disingenuous. It feels like they just don't care about our experience in the game to such an extent because it's so obfuscated. It's so predatory. It's like, I know that I shouldn't spend money on this because I am connected to KM, who I can complain to in Discords. I'm connected to...
It's so fucking cringe,
Marvel Snap Zone. I'm connected to SnapFan. I have the information. But it just feels like they don't actually give a fuck if we play the game. We enjoy the game. Just all they care about is if we open up our wallets and spend money, and they're gonna add as many pain points as possible to make us do that.
I don't even know if that's what was intended here. Like, well, you know what my read on this mode is? Do you know what my read on this mode is straight up? That they've done the classic Marvel Snap thing of a mode being too generous but feeling like it's not.
I actually agree with you to an extent. When I played this mode, and I started to understand it more, I was like, wow, they did something new for the game. They added some new content, but I don't know who is behind the psychology of like the game system.
The psychology is wild.
They're so bad. Like, it's so fucking bad. You lose your first game. Give me your money. It's like, why would you do that? Who thought through that? It's so dumb.
In every other new game mode, the first thing that happens is you get a bot. Not this one.
No. Like, and then it's like now you can't play. Fuck you. And you're like, and of course for me, I know the bugs are coming back. I know a little bit about the game mode. I have a little bit third-party knowledge, but casuals, like, I can't imagine a worse system to put in front of your casual fucking phone game playing audience, which is just like, hey, welcome to our new game mode. You lost everything. Go fuck yourself.
So, as someone who is a gacha game player, I feel like this is sort of like a half-baked gacha game quest, basically. Like, that is the vibe I got off of it, which is not that it's bad or anything like that. I think it's actually... I am a Deadpool's Diner defender.
Okay.
Through all of that, I had so much to say about how wrong and cringe you were, actually. Because the issues people have with Deadpool's Diner fundamentally are cosmetic and presentation focused. Like, you do not have to spend money to get 1 billion bubs. You don't. I know a guy who, last I checked, was ranked like 38 on the leaderboard. He has like 17 billion bubs. He has not spent a penny in the mode. It is eminently possible to free to play this game, to free to play this mode, even if you're competing with people who are not free to playing it, right? What it is pay to speed up. And I think you touched on something that actually really does suck. Because like I've been talking about how my 2 issues with Deadpool's Diner were very specifically, 1, the introductory experience sucks. It feels like it was designed to be a 14-day game mode. And because of that, they were like, okay, we have to make it so people can't finish this in 4 hours. So we're going to put a stamina cap kind of thing on it. So if you lose, you can't just like rush through it in 4 hours. We want to make sure that doesn't happen, right? And that's fine, but you need to ease people into the mode better if you're going to do that, right? And that is the number 1 issue with the game mode. It's the starting experience really sucks. Number 2 issue with the game mode is people do not grok exponential numbers intuitively.
Yeah.
When you start playing the game and you're like, why am I playing for 4 cubes or whatever when I need 15 million? That's impossible. You get discouraged, right? And that exponential scaling is discouraging and weird and bad. And that is the kind of thing where it's like you could be like 2% of the bubs to Cassandra Nova, but 50% of the way to Cassandra Nova, because you have no idea. You have no way of knowing that because of the exponential scaling. And you pointed out a third one, which I actually think is very unique that I hadn't thought of, because it's another consequence of that exponential scaling. But it's definitely, I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is what I was talking about. It's definitely something I wasn't thinking about, but it is true. The rate at which your gold converts to bubs changes as you go up the thing, which makes it incredibly bad to spend money early, which is a very frustrating thing to create. You shouldn't do that. That is bad.
It cannot be known either if you don't use third-party resources.
They don't tell you that.
Well,
that
it actually cannot be
really
known.
Bad.
You actually cannot know it without using third-party resources. Yeah. I guess you could have a friend, but that would be a third-party resource. Yeah, I think the one that irrationally pissed me off and like just kind of disappointed me was that when you bought bubs, it contributed to the rewards track. Because I was like, I was grinding through the mode. I would lose my bubs sometimes, and I'd have to wait for them to regen. That was okay because I felt like I was going to achieve something when I got Cassandra or when I got the variant. It was like this challenge that I had to overcome, even if I was free to playing it. And then when it was like, oh, you could just buy it and skip it, I was like, that kind of sucks, especially because at the same time I don't know, that just kind of irks me. It makes me feel like the second dinner's like motivation for this kind of mode is not like a challenging mode where people actually play the game. It's just like, how can we develop a game system that extracts as much money out of our audience as possible? And part of that just makes me feel like the publisher doesn't give a fuck about me, to be honest. I could be extrapolating too hard.
Yeah, no, let me reframe that for you. You are creating a mode which gives out a card for free.
Mm-hmm.
You are making it reasonably challenging to get that card, but you expect it to be attainable over the course of 14 days by like most people. How do you go to your boss and say, actually, 25% of our revenue this month, we're going to give away for free?
Yeah.
What you do is you say, you need to monetize the way in which you give it away. That's what you do.
That's the thing, is I've always had this issue with like where the monetization bar is set out with Marvel Snap, because it gives them so little room to actually do anything, because I feel like it's just so prohibitively expensive, and whatever their quota they need to hit per month, per quarter, per year, like it's just so high at this point that there is like almost no way for them to formulate the game in a way where they're not just kind of like wrecking 80% of people, or wrecking the whales, or
I don't
wrecking
think
the people
it's
who
even
spend
close
money.
to 80%, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just wrecking the people who actually spend money, and then, for the other ones that don't. Because, like, it just feels like things are just prohibitively expensive. I think that the reaction to the to spending bubs contributing to the rewards track, because I think you should be able to buy bubs. Just when they contributed to the reward track, it made me feel like the intention of the game mode was just to extract as much money out of me as possible. Again, I was also getting the fucking pop-up every single time I lost the game. Like, come on, who the fuck designed that?
Yeah, the pop-up was bad. I think that, like, fundamentally, Deadpool's Diner is a good thing. It is things people have been asking for, and if they had fixed the, like, again, it's the pop-up, it's the exponential scaling, it's the introductory experience. I feel like they were too focused on making it a 14-day game mode, and they put these barriers up that you can bypass with cash to get it done fast. And those barriers exist to make it a 14-day game mode. And they're never going to say no if someone is like, I would like to opt out of this by paying you $100, right? They're never going to be like, no. They're always going to give you a way to do that. But to me, it is a very Marvel Snap thing to be like, look, you can just skip this if you pay a bunch of money. It's the Pro Bundle. Yeah. Like, they just basically put the Pro Bundle in this mode. And
I'm happy to contradict myself here in the sense that, I think overall, I'm happy the mode exists, and more than I would be if it didn't exist. Like, I actually kind of enjoyed some of the experiences I had with the mode, and I think it's cool, and I think it's fun. Novel.
Yeah.
I just wish that you couldn't cheat. You couldn't cheese it with bots, and you couldn't do so. Basically, the strategy we're talking about is you retreat 8 times in a row. The 9th or 10th one you get is guaranteed to be a bot. So what's funny is, like, as all of you potatoes, and I will name you potatoes, as you all try to execute this strategy, the more people that do it, the less likely you can do it, because because
everyone's.
Yes, as soon as someone retreats before you, guess what? Your streak is gone. And if you have to do that twice because you have an entry fee, you have an ante, you're actually not going to net as many bubs. And the strategy just doesn't work. So it's kind of like this zero-sum cheating strategy, which is hilarious, by the way. Which is absolutely hilarious.
Why don't they just do it the normal way, which is get your MMR to such an outlier level that you get bots without having to cheat?
Yeah.
Why don't they just do it the normal way and be ranked in the top 50 in the world?
How was the Conquerors event, by the way? You mentioned there was a lot of bots, but was it just like the people who had bots had
pretty
huge
much
advantage?
Yeah, Jeff and Dara finished 1 and 2. They did not play a single human being the entire time. Nina and Atrix finished 3 and 4. They did not play a single human being except for each other. And Dexter finished 5th. He retreated on turn 1 every time he queued into me. So he could go get a bot. I finished 6th. I made a point of staying in against all the humans because I realized how cringe it was. And also, it was just like, man, I don't know. They're paying me to be at this event and represent this mode well. I'm going to do my best to make it watchable, basically. So apologies to everyone who bet on me to win that Electra variant. My ethics were slightly too strong to overcome. I mean, I did bust out one of the other players twice, though. I took their whole stack twice. It was nice.
It just this is the thing that amazes me about Second Dinner. I think there's genuinely some bright minds over there, but then there's just this. They have this lapse consistently, like with these, like in many facets of the company. For instance, with
hold on, you're about to talk about the game mode here. Conquerors isn't Second Dinner.
Okay, but sure. I was going to first reference Deadpool's Diner, which is, you play your first game, you lose all your bubs, and that's a bad experience for
Hey, would you like to give us money?
Yeah, on average,
a very bad rate.
50% of the community is pissed off. Now they're playing your new game mode where you're giving them a free card. Again, trying to do something nice, kind of, maybe. But also just it ends bad with PR, which happens consistently with them. In Conquerors, again, you mentioned it was not Second Dinner, but Conquerors, that's another just... Someone thinks of this cool idea. We get people to actually play this more engaging game mode, like Deadpool's Diner. If everybody had a set number of bubs and just played each other, that would be cool to watch. That'd be fun. But they're like, let's put on this big event. We've got hosts, like, we got all these cool content creators. And then they just fucking forget how the system works. And it's just like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's actually no gameplay happening here. And we're all just,
I think I played the most people and I played like 5.
It's crazy, dude.
Like, I matched up against multiple people twice, right? But like, I think I played the most people and I played like 5 people.
Yeah. And I know that we're talking about two separate entities here, but just like it was similar with the Hydra Bob thing, and we talked about that, and we talked about it could have been a rock and a hard place. But
hold on, can you use his full name?
What was it again? I forget.
Hydration Robert.
Hydration Robert.
You're not on a first name basis with that guy, right? His name is Hydration Robert.
There's this level of incompetence that just consistently happens that absolutely blows my mind, where they try to do something good. I mean, you can maybe argue it's bad because of the systems.
I don't think you can. I think objectively Deadpool's Diner was an attempt to do something
compared to what they usually do. They try to do something good. And it just, the PR that comes from it, because they have this like this level of incompetence where they always make this one critical mistake that pisses everyone off. It's just like they just go negative PR after negative PR after negative PR. And it blows my mind where there's not this attention to detail quite yet, where it's like, did they think about how this would affect the player base? Did they think about how the gameplay would actually work? There's just this level of disconnect where it seems to always happen, and it blows my mind. It really does.
I do think that like the specific thing I would critique about Diner is attention to detail.
Yeah, bro. Play test it fucking once. Yo, you get everybody in the company, play this game mode fucking once, 50% of your company's pissed off, and now you realize it's a bad entry system. That's it.
It's again, it's like this very specific thing though, right? Like, it's very easy for me to believe that Deadpool's Diner is like two dudes, right? And they're just like brainstorming this entire mode, and they start at this incredibly cool concept, and they're working their way backwards. And in the process of creating something that works over 14 days, they create something that sucks for the first 8 hours.
Yeah.
And that is basically my read on what happened, where like Deadpool's Diner is the brainchild of like a small team at most. And when you're in a small team, there are blind spots. That's just how it works. And it also, to me, does feel like maybe it was a little bit rushed. Yeah. Like, this is Deadpool's Diner. It came out during the month when Deadpool come out. When did we start designing this? How long was this in the works? When did this actually become a thing that we were actually actively working on? Could it have used another month in the oven? Was it plausible to put it another month in the oven when Deadpool is the thing that's happening right now? Like, how much of this... I'm reminded of how after Nexus events, they scrapped everything and then released the game with no acquisition system.
Yeah.
And that was because they had that was their planned release time, and they weren't going to push it back because of that. Right. And I'm reminded of that with Deadpool's Diner, where this is their planned release time, apparently, and they aren't going to push it back because of that. And it leads to, I think, potentially problems like this, which are, to be clear, I think everything everyone is mad about in Deadpool's Diner is like roughly 15%. Like, if you add me to like good, bad Deadpool's Diner, it'd be like 80-20, 85-15, good to bad. Like, this is a mode that I think is objectively a good thing. And a lot of the people who are mad at the mode are doing so in a way that feels maybe a little bit intellectually dishonest to me. Where they're saying like, oh, how are you going to make me play this much or whatever? And it's like, you're getting a card for free. What, you wanted it to just be a login reward, right? And it's like, I feel like it looks to me as though it is incredibly possible for anyone who is a engaged player to end up getting Cassandra Nova over the course of the 14 days, right? But that's not what people want. They don't want, I'm going to get Cassandra Nova over the course of 14 days. They want Cassandra Nova right the fuck now.
I mean,
and
to be honest,
that's one of the big issues.
To be honest, I don't give a fuck about the card. I don't give a fuck about a new card. I really don't care. No, I would like to play a game that's fun, and that's what I want to do. I really
go play normal Marvel Snap, bro.
Yeah, you could do that, but then I don't think it's intellectually dishonest to call out the predatory systems that, like, the Deadpool's Diner feels like it is to an extent, because of the way they framed it, felt like it was monetization first, gameplay second, and that sucks. And they got to stop doing that shit.
It's so clearly not actually that, though. You're basing that off of the pop-up that happens when people lose, right?
Yes, the pop-up not being clear about how gold converts to bubs.
Agree, they should have been clear about that. That's bad. But like...
And you can just pay your way past the track.
Functionally, if you are someone of your level, I fully expect you to be able to acquire all the rewards from the game mode with like a couple hours of effort. Like, maybe over the course of 14 days, I fully expect you to be able to get all this stuff for free, which is all stuff we've been asking for. We've been asking for other ways to get shit for free. And it feels like however much money you would have spent in Deadpool's Diner, that's about how much money you would have spent on getting a new card in the first place.
I mean, it depends.
That's the worst
it does
case, I
depend how dumb you are, to be honest.
It does. I get, yes, like that. This is actually something that does bother me about Second Dinner that I don't think they should get a pass on. They keep making things where if you are stupid, you get punished.
Yeah, you don't even have to be that stupid. You just have to be like not connected, I guess.
Yes.
Like if you had to figure all this shit out by yourself and you had absolutely no access to other human beings, like you could be reasonably intelligent and fall for some stuff. But they do try to prey upon. Yeah, I mean, just like if you just take the app for, if you take it for face value, it's pretty fucking confusing, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think the way in which they handled the first few steps of Deadpool's Diner sucked, to be clear. But I think it's a consequence of this, we need to make it a 14-day mode kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And not having enough time in the oven, as opposed to, we need to milk our customer base.
Yeah.
That's my read on it. And because I think if they needed to milk their customer base, they could have come up with a better and more efficient way to do that. This is not a mode that's good at doing that. Like,
is it
it's not what it's for.
I felt like it was pretty good, to be honest. Like,
Really?
it feels pretty good. So, like, I mean,
I feel like I specifically invalidated the mode. I spent on it so I could get Cassandra Nova day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent about as much as it would take to get 6,000 tokens.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. I guess maybe even less, actually, when you think about it. Like, if I had to guarantee and enforce spotlight caches, I probably spent less than it would take to guarantee that card in a normal context. So I can't imagine it's good at milking money unless you're like really milking people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like very hard for me to know because like the first 3 marts are like very easy to get past, and like the big jumps from level 3
600k to 3 mil.
Yeah, that's
30 mil is a big one.
Yeah, that's the big one. So I feel like people are actually getting owned in the earlier marts, probably, if anything. But yeah, I honestly I didn't hate the mode. I didn't hate it. It was just I feel like, you know, I deal with I put up with a lot in regards to, you know, $100 for a couple of black mat borders. You know,
did you buy those?
No, four banging copycat out of the cache. Like I put up with a lot, but Deadpool's Diner, I was just like, damn, bro, do they really care about putting up a fun and engaging game mode, or do they just want us to like be on this hamster wheel? You know, play bots, not play bots, and then spend money. It's just like, sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? Like, where's this game going? Like, are we like? The gameplay, like we got to focus on the gameplay sometimes.
Yes.
I feel like they get away from that. You know, I feel like they do get away with that because if you put the monetization too far in front of the gameplay, like if it's monetization then gameplay, like that's a bad thing, in my opinion. But I think the game can be monetized. I don't mind that Deadpool's Diner is monetized. I think that the part where it irritates me that you can spend money and it counts towards you actually winning the bubs. That's just a me thing because I think I got caught up in like, oh, this is actually kind of challenging. That's cool. That's fun. Like it means something if you get the Cassandra Nova variant of the Cassandra Nova card. Like you have to actually work for it. And it's like, no, actually you don't have to work for it. Some asshole can just pay for it. I guess part of it. Yeah, that's not reasonable for that to irritate me, but it does.
It's like poker, right? Yeah. Like some people start with a higher bankroll because they got more money. Yeah. Like that's some dude can keep buying back in and you can keep taking their chips.
Yeah, a bit of a loaded word, but I think it would have been a bit more ethical if you could buy the bubs, but then you still had to actually win them, you know? Like,
hey, I'm with you in terms of the substance of your critiques. It's just that to me, they don't overshadow the good stuff the mode did.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. And I think it's hard to see the forest through the trees.
Yes.
With my critique as well. So I actually didn't dislike it in totality. There was just
is crazy because for 25 minutes you've been like, this is so fucking cringe.
23.4 23 minutes, 24 minutes. There was just parts that, you know, they make me think about the ethos of these kind of decisions. I'm just like,
sure,
why? You know, like why?
Yeah,
and that's kind of what irks me more than anything is because it's, you know, I read into it a little bit too much. And I'm like, damn, like. It makes me want to not engage with the monetary system whatsoever moving forward because I feel like I'm getting played. I'm like, damn.
Can someone actually do the math for me on this? I spent, in order to get the Cassandra Nova variant while playing 0 games, spent 8,400 gold. Not the variant, sorry, just the card. I want to play 0 games. I wanted to not play the game mode at all. I was like, I refuse to do this. So I spent 8,400 gold. That was the most efficient, well, not the most efficient way. It was I could have probably done it by spending less gold and maybe playing a couple more games. But like, let's just like baseline, right? Like, if you wanted to spend your way to the whole thing, is 8,400 gold enough to get 4 spotlight caches? Because I don't think it is.
Is it really? Is it really not? Yeah,
I don't think it's actually enough to do that. Like, and so like when you look at like me hard whaling the mode, totally not engaging in it, just literally treating this as spotlight cache number 2 for the week. It's still probably cheaper than spotlight caches.
Crazy. Yeah, me getting copycat out of my 4th cache, I was just like, I
also 4-bangered copycat.
Dude,
Let's go, dude.
Come on.
I opened Cull Obsidian variant, and then I opened my random series 4, which was Cull Obsidian.
Dude, that's hilarious. So did I. So did I.
Really?
I was like, oh, I actually kind of like the Thanos variant. Cull Obsidian variant. Fucking random card. And I was like, oh, God. Now I don't want the Thanos variant because I want the fucking card. And then I got the Thanos variant, and then I got the card. God.
Yeah, I got Thanos, Cull Obsidian, and then Copycat.
That's exactly what I got. That's hilarious. Anyway,
awesome. Let's
talk about Copycat, because Copycat's a new card. It's a 3/5. It says, when you draw the steal a text from the bottom card of your opponent's deck. How's it landing for you? I played it a little bit in Surfer, and I liked it. I think it's a fun card. I think it's cool. And, it's someone did. I remember a while ago, someone did the math on like optimal outcomes, or sort of like a high roll outcome versus like a mid roll outcome versus a low roll, and it was like tilted on the aggregate of every card in the game is tilted towards like a more favorable outcome. That being said, it's obviously meta contextual to an extent. If everybody's playing Arsham, I guess it's not. I guess it is just a random pool.
Yep.
But I've had fun with the card.
I think this card is very good, honestly.
Okay.
Like
good.
The question is whether it's like the kind of very good that has staying power or the kind of very good that eventually gets replaced by something else. Because right now, Copycat has I have lost. I was playing Sandman yesterday. Do you have any idea how many Copycat Dr. Dooms I got completely stomped by? It was so many. It was so many. Getting absolutely owned by Copycat Dr. Dooms. Jesus Christ, the most owned ever. The less Arishem is in the metagame, the better she is, right? Copycat is a card that scales off of your opponent's playing good cards. The more of a good card's mid-range meta we're in, the better she is. But the question becomes whether she's worth putting in your deck. A lot of the time, I think the answer is going to be yes. I think this card is quite powerful. My instinct with this card is, again, like, she's like a good card's mid-range mirror breaker. And that's just a really strong thing to have in your deck. Imagine if Iron Lad was 3/5. You'd be playing a lot of Iron Lad, right? And Iron Lad obviously can't be 3/5 because that's ridiculous. So this card has a worse effect than Iron Lad, but one that is, probably 80% as good, right? And in those mid-range mirrors, maybe even better. And that's really strong. That's just like, I think this card is up there with Nocturne. It's a comparable card to Nocturne in terms of the 3/5s.
Oh, thank God, bro. I was about to hit the copium bong after 4-banging it in the keys. I was just feeling not so good about the card. I was like, did I pick?
Can we talk about how much jargon you just used in there? I was about to hit the copium bong after 4-banging it in the keys. That's just like not a sentence normal people understand.
If you listen to the snapshot, you can parse that sentence. You've been here for a while.
Yeah, say that to your mom. Tell your mom that. Go home, everyone listening to this, and just say those words to your mom and see what she thinks you're talking about.
I was not feeling great after the 4 key on her, but I am now. I'm feeling better now. I've been playing against like only Orisham, so that makes sense. Anyway, with that,
she's worse than Cassandra Nova. I can tell you that much. Cassandra Nova is the GOAT.
Cassandra Nova
is actually just the GOAT. She saved us from this Orisham crap. Now she's put us right back into Athena crap, but at least we can play decks,
Yeah.
Like at least we can play other decks now.
Yeah, 100%. I remember I got a Cassandra Nova off like a Loki one time, and I'd also at the same time my opponent was playing some Darkhawk deck. I also copied their Korg and their Rock Slide, and I was able to play those. And then Cassandra Nova is like actually a reasonable card against a non-Orisham deck. It's like hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on turn 3, it's basically Gladiator.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking good.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Jeez, I think that card is just like insane.
Great card.
Yeah, I guess it's just like a bad top deck later. Like that's
it's a really bad.
Yeah, it's like
deck.
it's like the only argument you can make because Gladiator no downside is like pretty fucking good. Also, that's like Gladiator no downside plus you've you've stolen the power from the cards as well, which is relevant.
Sort of, right? Like I'm counting maybe they play one card that they drew that in that 3/8 for Gladiator. Like it's I'm being a little generous here, I think.
Well, it also hosts Arsham, so that's good.
Yes, and that's what really matters.
All right, let's head into the Bend&Snap, so listener question section. If you have your question read out in next week's podcast, you can shoot us a comment on YouTube. First one's from Sergeant Adhesive. What the heck? 35 minutes in, all you guys have talked about is Marvel Snap. This isn't what I signed up for. Well, shit, we're 30 minutes in. I think all we've talked about.
Yeah, we've only talked about Marvel Snap. I wanted to propose a thumbnail for this episode, and it was just a picture of you, but like photoshopped red with steam coming out of his ears. Can we please do that?
Bro, the TLDR is like, I'm actually not that angry.
But I don't care. Anyone listening to this episode is going to feel like you were angry, and therefore a picture of you photoshopped red steam coming out of your ears.
25-minute speech. I actually kind of like the mode. Yeah, we're rebranding.
Dude, it's disgusting. It's cringe. It's predatory. I think it's pretty good.
What the hell? I had fun with it. Yeah, rebranding to a Marvel Snap podcast. So everybody really better buckle up.
Next we talk about Marvel Snap now.
Oh shit, we'll lose half our 80% of our audience. Next one's from Simon. A notification about potential balancing should be in the game, not in social media. I agree with that. And it should have been at least 24 hours before the card leaves the shop, not 1 hour. Either extend his spotlight or replace the fourth card at random. But next one, and the next one with him if necessary. So, two things I think
those don't seem possible.
Yeah, well, I think that the definitely hit the app push, that should be technically feasible. I'm assuming it wasn't because they didn't do it. But if it's not technically feasible, I think you need to reevaluate the bureaucratic systems that slow down your company because that's ridiculous. You should be able to hit people with a notification.
Especially if you're the community manager, yeah.
Dude, if you're fucking anybody, you should, it shouldn't be like, oh, we have to send that to the software team, then they got to QA. Fuck that. If that's what's happening in your company, you got a problem because this, we're talking about weekly releases. You need to be able to move a bit faster than that. But something someone else mentioned is if you didn't live in the US, this change was fucked. It was 3, 4 a.m. for some of them.
Okay. You know what? I'm sick of this.
You've heard
Nobody is fucking losing sleep over not getting Hydra Bob. Everyone who's doing this is pretending it was a card that they actually wanted and cared about. Stop it. I am so sick of this. You know how many Hydra Bobs I've seen in the last week? It's 2. Okay?
The ones generated off Arsham?
Yeah, everyone is oh my God, they buffed Hydra Bob. He's going to be busted and I'm not going to have him now. No, he's not. Relax. He's fine.
It's about
You're
the
not going to
principle.
be oh God, I need Hydra Bob. I got to get Hydra Bob in my fucking life. Stop it. Stop acting like this.
I did want Hydra Bob, to be fair. I was that's a 1-5.
They need to give me 24 hours notice. I need 24 hours notice on look. I am nearly 100% sure they were planning on giving no notice. I am almost 100% sure you were going to learn 48 hours after he left caches.
Yes, and that will be the plan moving forward too, because the blowback was so bad.
Yeah, it's what? It's their schedule doesn't really seem to allow them to do that. My understanding is OTAs are maybe late Friday going into Monday, right? And so when they're that's when they're being worked on, they have to be translated into other languages, localized, things like that. If you are planning on making those changes, you don't know 24 hours before it happens. You just don't know. And so by the time everything is finalized on Monday, what's actually going to happen on Thursday, right? Because remember, this stuff happens on Thursday, not Tuesday. So they're finalizing it Monday of the week that this is happening. And then they go and do it. Right. And this is a lot of speculation. And again, this is verging on NDA stuff. But what I can tell you is based on when we as content creators get the notes, I genuinely am not sure if they are done by Monday. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that I understand these companies are big. They're working with a complicated software, very, very successful phone application. But if you're working with a 10-figure company and you can't get some simple shit done because you've developed all these cool processes that make everything very nice, that's a fucking problem. You got to be able to do
I don't really
some
think
of this
that's
shit faster.
What's happening here though is people are asking for information in advance of when that information is even known to the company.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Hydro Bob should have been a notification. I will fucking die on
I'm
that hill.
sure the Hydro Bob should have been a notification. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it still would have been like an hour before. Like, I don't think, like, when we talk about, like, you know, people know creators get OTA notes, right?
Well, they do now.
They already did. It's public. Sometimes we get OTA notes, right? It's never on Monday. Let me put it that way. We never get that on Monday. That's realistically very rare for it to happen on Monday. And so it makes me wonder what their internal process is. Like, it could just be we're lower on the like priority thing, right? Like, maybe it doesn't really matter that we get it 3 days early or whatever, right? For Monday, like, typically my impression from what I gather, again, based on my outside experience, is that they realized this was happening and they were like, shit, what would be the best way to approach this? And they chose the least bad option.
Yes.
Like, it's not realistic, I think, for them to be done with an OTA on a card that came out on Tuesday by the next Monday, because that is a card that came out on Tuesday. They have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to decide that it's busted, that it's not busted, and they need to OTA it upwards. And then they have to do all the work on that Monday. I just don't think that's a realistic timeline. I don't think you can say over that amount of time that you should have known that you were going to need to buff anything. I think that is an unfair burden to put on them.
All right, next one's from M Handle. This one's fucking funny. Bend&Snap. My dolphin journey through Deadpool's diner. 1. Cool mode. I like the rewards I'm getting. 2. All my bubs are gone. This sucks. 3. My bubs are back. Okay, this is cool again. 4. All my bubs are gone because my Arsham opponent generated the perfect answer to my stuff. RNG feels bad. This sucks. 5. I'm back to liking this. 6. Okay. I need to be bringing close to 1 million bubs to move the needle on that reward track. I'm resetting to 650. Kebabs at 80k is useless, but ice cream is 400k. I'm risking all my bubs at the top end. It's also kind of useless. And the next tier is at 2 million bubs. Do I really care that much about getting Cassandra Nova early on, or can I just use caches or tokens next week? So yeah, I feel like I've been drawn in, but now I'm at the million of bubs home stretch to get the shiny toy. Kind of feels pointless, and I refuse to spend money on anything other than season pass. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, there's a bit.
When did this person leave this comment?
I don't know. I don't remember. I thought
because if they were at 1 million bubs like 2 or 3 days in, yeah, they're very obviously getting Cassandra Nova. Like, this is what I mean when I talk about the exponential scaling really sucking, because it makes people feel like they're not making progress, even though they meaningfully are, right? Like, if this person was at 1 million bubs 2 or 3 days in, they're going to end with like hundreds of millions of bubs. And the fact that that is not immediately apparent, the fact that the way the diner scales is not immediately apparent, is one of the biggest problems with the diner.
What's the optimal game theory on like bub strategy? Do you always just bet max? You go max table?
You play, I think, like, there are a couple tables people tend to hang out at. Like, you play at the ones where you are like, I have several billion at this point, so I just screw around.
Yeah.
I'm not the right guy to ask about optimal strategy, actually, because I whaled my way through it, right? I don't want to deal with that. I specifically didn't want to learn anything about this mode at all. I wanted to spend money and get the card. But as far as I understand it,
Conqueror's competitor.
Yeah. The specific thing that is getting clear is that people tend to play at, like, ice cream is one people play at, I think, a lot. You play like 1 or 2 below what your max stack is. And
really
then
surprising.
you get that seems to be the way that it ends up.
I would have thought, due to the regeneration of bubs, which is not symmetrical to real life gambling because you don't regenerate money. I would have thought it'd be game theory optimal to just max bet every time, like max table.
That was my impression, but it seems like because of the way that, like, the exponential stack can grow, and because of the massive gap between the 600k regen and the 30m regen, like, the big desert is people making it from that 600k to that 30m.
Yeah.
And so during that time, managing your bankroll responsibly actually is important, because you want to keep rolling it up and up and up and up and up there.
Interesting. All right. Next one's from our last one here is from Brandau. They say, is it not hypocritical to lament the expense of the game while also wishing you could buy cards with cash? I think it's referring to me.
Yeah, it is referring to you. That's a you thing.
I don't think so. I think that that's a bit of a non sequitur because just because I want to buy the cards with cash rather than fucking jumping through a million hoops with in-game currencies and obfuscated, monetary systems, I don't want to buy them for more money. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to spend more money. I want to spend less money. It's just I don't want to be time gated. The time gating shit sucks. Like that's my main issue. Is like if you don't have Series 4 or 5 cards, you take a few weeks off. Like you are time gated if you're not whaling for collector tokens, because those collector tokens, they come slow and those cards aren't coming back to the caches for a while. So yeah, that's why I wish I could buy them with cash.
I think that the person trying to say this is hypocritical is misunderstanding why you don't like it. Right now, you're already buying cards. You just don't know how much they cost.
Yeah, true. And I would just like to be able to do it. I don't want to come back to Marvel Snap for taking a break and be like, hey, let's play some Marvel Snap, and then have disposable income and be like, oh, I can't play. I can't play the decks I want to play. That sucks. Like, that's not fun. So
yeah, it's a very card gamer thing, right? Because in every other card game, like, Lorcana,
Hearthstone,
or Hearthstone, or, Magic Gathering, or Flesh and Blood, you can just go buy the card. And actually in Hearthstone, you can't. You have to like dust stuff to get it. But like in a paper card game, which your background is, you can just go buy the card. And it's not surprising that you want that.
Yeah. I don't like being time gated like ever. Anything. All right. Let's go to the main topic, 41 minutes in.
God, we're so good at podcasting.
Hell yeah.
I don't even understand how anyone thinks anyone is better at podcasting than we are. We're so
We've switched genres twice in a month. Show me another podcast that's done that. All right, let's talk about this Cassandra deck. You have a Cassandra Move -A. It's KMBS. Recently cooked this up.
Cassandra Mova.
Kitty Pryde.
Do you really not get that's what that was?
Honestly, I thought it was the Cassandra Move deck, and this was your iteration A. And the
Cassandra Move A? Yeah, no, it's Cassandra Mova. It's definitely not anything smart.
Version 1. All right. Kitty Pryde, Dina, Angela, Jeff, Cassandra Nova, Juggernaut, Hope Summers, Copycat, Nocturne, Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, Gwenpool. What's the function of the Juggernaut in this deck? Like
be Juggernaut, small Goliath, basically.
Okay.
That's what our boy is there to do. Get priority, play Juggernaut, win game. That's our guy. Like it's the same function of Juggernaut in every deck, where it's just like, why is Juggernaut here? To play on turn 6. That's what he exists to do.
All right. And I mean, do you think this is this going to be best deck in the game?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay. So
to me, I think this is the best deck in the game.
Okay.
I'm a little more hedged against Arishem. Not everyone plays Cassandra Nova in this list. But I feel like I would just rather play the Gladiator that beats Arishem than anything else. Like I'll take the minor hit in mirrors and just be like, yeah, Arishem, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. This deck basically can't lose to Arishem if you play Cassandra Nova. Like if you have Cassandra Nova and the rest of the deck is even close to functioning, they have to Shang-Chi your Cassandra Nova lane. It's just really hard for them to do anything about you.
Well, let's also talk about Arishem. So we have the stock Arishem list. I mean, if you're still playing with Cassandra Nova running around.
I will say, I think that this stock Arishem list might not be right in a metagame of Cassandra Nova. It's where everyone started. I wouldn't. Personally, I would be playing any of the Athena decks, but Arishem is still around and you have to give it its due respect. Getting Goliath in there might be helpful, but like fundamentally, like you run into just some issues with Arishem that are like, it's gone from the best deck unquestioned to if you don't have a plan for it, you will lose, which is meaningful, I think. But there are a lot of decks that do have a plan for it.
Yeah, well, that list is Quinjet, Rogue, Agent Coulson, Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Loki, Nick Fury, Leech, Dr. Octopus, Blob, Mockingbird, Arishem. So I mean, that's a list I've been playing mostly in Deadpool's Diner, to be honest, to get Cassandra Nova. Yeah, I did. I tried playing some other decks, and I was like, I don't know about that. I think I'm gonna have to play my Arishem deck. And then finally, we have an Ajax list, which I believe we talked about last week, but it does have one nice spicy addition. You could probably guess it. That's Hood. It's gonna be Hood, Rocket Raccoon, Nico Minoru, Beast, Hazmat, White Widow, Falcon, Cassandra Nova, Werewolf by Night, Viper, Shang-Chi, Ajax. How does this one line up to the Cassandra Mova?
My impression, not positive, is that it's better in the heads-up matchup. By virtue of being a bounce deck, it is just a little bit better. The question is how much hedging you actually need to do. Right now on Untapped, this deck has 420 games at top 10% infinite, a 57% win rate, and a 0.43%, a plus 0.43 cube rate. It's got better stats than any other Ajax deck. This if you bought Ajax, this is the deck you play him in right now. And I think that this is my big question about the metagame right now is we've established that like Thena Cassandra beats Arishem pretty badly. So what beats Thena Cassandra? Bounce decks that can go taller and still get to play Cassandra. This deck I feel confident into Arishem with, I feel confident into Thena with. There aren't a lot of decks like that. And I think figuring out what the bounce archetype is supposed to look like. Maybe there's not supposed to be an Ajax in here. Maybe not a Shang-Chi. Maybe not a Viper. The top end is kind of up in the air. The bottom end, on the other hand, is incredibly powerful. And just having more points than Athena deck is a reasonable approach to those matchups. And so you end up in a spot where this deck could end up being straight up better into Thena decks than any metagamed Thena deck can be in a pseudo mirror. And that, I think, is the appeal of exploring the bounce archetype right now. It doesn't necessarily have to be this. This one's been done well for me. I like it. But you gotta figure out what you're doing, basically.
Yeah. Well, we finally have seen our shift in the metagame, our major shift in the metagame with the addition of Cassandra Nova, which is as predicted. I mean, that card was pretty much always going to own Arishem. People are really, I don't know. I'm not too much on Marvel Snap Twitter anymore, but I feel like people were beating the drum on the Arishem nerf even prior to Cassandra Nova coming out. Yeah. Which, we did see a little bit of a nerf, but yeah, I think Cassandra seems like a totally reasonable thing. What do you think about the game design aspect of kind of having this, having very dominant strategy, very dominant deck, very, very powerful deck, and then, kind of putting people in a position where it's like, yeah, you really just kind of have to play the silver bullet card, right?
I hate it. Okay. My instinct is that I would like it if they nerfed Arishem enough that Cassandra Nova didn't have to be in these decks. That would be what I would like. Here's the thing, though. What I really want to know is, did they know Arishem was going to be good?
Yeah.
And if so, it's like, I think it is entirely plausible that they didn't. I don't know how big their testing team is, but testing a card like Arishem is the kind of thing that requires millions of trials of iteration because of the randomness inherent in the card.
Yeah, but the theory is just you can't be playing 4 drops on turn 3. Like, that's just too good. And then
I don't know. I think a lot of people were like, this card looks fun. Like, a lot of smart, good players were like, oh, that's a fun card. It's not going to be that good.
To be fair, I do remember that rhetoric. I do remember us like talking about the card and being like, okay, so fair enough.
Like, my question is, because like, I would feel worse about it if I thought that they knew Arishem was busted and then they were going to make Cassandra Nova. I don't like that kind of, like, I don't like doing Loki, then release Mobius. I don't like that. I think that sucks. If they, like, my read on Cassandra Nova is it looks like she was balanced to be a normal card.
Yeah.
Like this is a card that it looks like it was like, oh, they were going to make a card that did this, and they gave her the numbers that would make her not busted with Beast, because if this card had any other cheaper numbers on it, it would be the most annoying Beast card of all time.
Yeah.
B, like, just bad enough that there are downsides to it. Like, when you play Cassandra Nova in normal games, you're like, oh, that's not really that good. Like, or it's like, it's not really, it's good, but it's like, it's normal new card good, not like holy shit good. Against Arishem, it's like holy shit good.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I don't really know. I really don't know. I would like to believe that they, I guess I don't know. Which would you rather believe? That they have perfect future sight and they predicted all of this? Or that things just sort of worked out this way and they accidentally included a card that beat the crap out of Arishem in the next season? Which would be a preferable thing?
So Cassandra Nova does beat the crap out of Arishem, but I also think it's like it's like a fine bounce card. Like, I mean, it's a card that you can activate it multiple times and it's pretty decent. So I could see Cassandra Nova existing in a vacuum where Arishem didn't exist. Maybe the 3/1 stat line is a bit low. Like, maybe it could have a power or 2. Like, I don't know.
Maybe it could be a 3/2, but like, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe 3/1 was like, we're going to make it work with Ravonna thing.
It is a nice. Oh, true. Yeah, true.
Like, I don't know.
It's a nice failsafe if you were like, if you're like, oh shit, maybe Arsham's busted. It's like, okay, we just make this bounce card, and if
I
Arsham
really
is,
wonder.
if Arsham is busted, it will sort of keep it in check. Hard to say. Looking at it, not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Looking at Cassandra Nova does look like because Cassandra Nova seems tailor made to beat Arsham.
Yeah, she beats the hell out of him. It's
not
crazy. She is the best card against him. It is so clear that she is the best card against him. It's kind of unbelievable.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you enjoy this podcast, the one thing you can do is leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Were you about to say you can leave us a review on Marvel Snap?
Well, I was also remembering that we switched from a, two guys talk about random bullshit podcast to a Marvel Snap podcast. And I was like, how do I incorporate this in my outro? I just decided to cut it, but there we go. Video version of this on YouTube at youtube.com/@_snapshot. Cam is streaming in the evenings sometimes when he's farming bots and conquerors, but also playing players because he doesn't want to win.
Yeah, I just hate my audience so much.
Yeah,
I just refuse to do anything.
Bro, I fucking bet on you, and then you have to bring this whole morality thing into it. Like, the fuck? I didn't put money on you so you could have a fucking existential crisis.
Sorry, I should have been retreating against every human being. That would have been a great viewing experience.
Bro, next time, let me know. I got electro variant.
I didn't know it was gonna be like that. God. Once people started retreating against the humans, I was like, "Oh my god!"
I love how like people with like lizard brains were able to adapt that quickly. Or like, oh, possible exploit, I'm in.
I brought it up the day before, and I was like with some of my friends, like they were like, one of my friends pitched that I should retreat versus every bot, every non-bot, right? I was just like, I refuse to do that. I'm not doing it. And so when I saw other people doing it, I was like, oh God, man.
Shame on whoever gave you that advice for not notifying all of your other fans and followers that you were going to be not a good person to bet on.
Oh, wow. I did great. I was better to bet on than a lot of other people. Yeah. Come on now.
Shame on them.
I did good.
We needed a warning.
I got 1.6 billion bubs.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Oh, just hilarious, by the way. Just absolutely hilarious. That is how the Conquerors event shook out. What? I didn't even really catch much of it. So they were casting it and stuff too?
Yep.
Like, what were they doing?
I don't know.
Well,
Cozy and Alex are real pros is the impression that I got.
Oh man, because like, wow, that would have been a nightmare. Could you imagine? Just like instant retreating. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening.
Wait, hold on. Oh, do you realize we talked about Marvel Snap the entire episode?
Yeah, I said rebrand to Marvel Snap.
No. Like we didn't do one off-topic thing. Not one. Every Bend and Snap was about Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
Cut it out. Ask us questions about the gym.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
Fucked up. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week.